Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And welcome to the very first edition of the DC Universe Daily of 2023. Yes, a very happy new year to you all. I love a brand spanking new calendar year. I always love the 1st of January. It's full of excitement. I'm always invigorated, looking forward instead of backwards. So a very happy new year to you all. I hope you had a lovely New Year's Eve, whether you got shit-faced down the local club or pub with your mates, your family, your girlfriends, your boyfriends. But if you spend it on your own, don't feel bad about that. Society want you to feel bad about being alone. It's so you can find someone, get a mortgage and be a wage slave until you're 90. So if you're on your own and you spend Christmas and New Year's Eve on your own, you rebel you beat the fucking system. Yes. So let's get on with today's show, because 2023 is going to be a huge year for DC fans. That's you. Yes, you in the corner over there. And one. We have 4 exciting, vibrant DC movies to come this year. Maybe they have nothing to do with the future, and maybe they have everything to do with the future. Don't worry about the whole franchise thing. Go and watch each movie for what they are. But if you want Zachary Levi to continue to play Shazam, go and watch Shazam. If you want Ezra Miller to keep on playing The Flash, go and watch the Flash movie. If you want more Blue Beetle, go and watch Blue Beetle. Don't do what you all did with Black Adam, which was bore on about it on the internet, but never actually go and support it in cinemas and in movie theatres. You know, because that little franchise of the DCEU is now dead because it failed at the box office. It failed at the box office because not enough of the general audience and not enough DC fans went there to support the movie. That was your decision not to support it. And if you didn't want to support it, if you couldn't be bothered to go and see it, if it wasn't for you, if you weren't attracted to it, you know, good on you for not going, because nobody has to go and support a DC movie. Maybe you were right not to go and see it. Maybe you were right to think that The Rock was never a good Black Adam, and Black Adam deserved to be played by a proper actor who actually looked like Black Adam, had the ears, had more of the look. A few people complained about that. So a very huge year. It's a huge year for me as a Superman fan, because in 2023 I'm going to get loads of updates, as we all are, about this Superman film in development. As a kid, it was always exciting to know that a Superman film was in development. I remember when Superman 4 and Superman Returns were in development. I had my ear to the ground. I'd buy Empire magazine, Total Film. I'd be reading the interviews. I remember all the Bryan Singer interviews and the Spacey and the Ralph interviews. It was so exciting. I even know what type of technology, what kind of cameras they were going to use for that film. And they were groundbreaking pieces of tech they were using to make Superman Returns. So I remember the excitement of the premiere, of the launch night of Superman Returns and Superman for the Quest for Peace. So knowing that James Gunn is now writing a Superman movie really excites me. Even though I loved Henry as Superman and the way they treated him, bringing him back, then getting rid of him again, is upsetting. You know, my Superman fandom isn't based on any director or any actor. We move on, but we go back and enjoy Henry as Superman anytime we want. If it was suddenly announced that Henry will be playing Superman again, I'd also be very, very happy. But ultimately, I'm a fan of the man and not the actors who have I'm more a fan of Superman than the actors who have played, you know, Superman. Now, obviously, I love Sir Christopher Reeve, as I call him. He's not actually a sir, but he fucking should be, because the UK were very proud of saying he was British, but never gave him a knighthood or anything. Christopher Reeve should be Sir Christopher Reeve. Henry Cavill was great, and I'll always remember him fondly as Superman, as I will Tom Welling and Brandon Routh. But their day is gone. It's time now for another young, up-and-coming actor to play Superman, and I feel that's what's going to happen. So when you ask me, who do you want to play the next Superman, I don't know their name, because hopefully they're an unknown, because to play Superman, you should be an unknown. So if you're a DC fan, you shouldn't be feeling down in the dumps. You shouldn't be upset. You should, look, of course, it's upsetting what happened to Henry Cavill. I get that, but we can't just stay there. We can't just have our heads stuck in the mud forever. It's done, it's over, and it might turn out that releasing Henry Cavill and replacing him as Superman was probably the right decision. I actually feel it is. I don't like the way he got treated. I would have loved the Man of Steel too. But I think for a bright new 10-year plan, it probably is the best thing to do, you know, to replace Henry as Superman. There was a time to make a Man of Steel 2, and that should have been a few years after Man of Steel, not over 10 years. It's happened, a lot of things have gone wrong, a lot of bad decisions have been made. You can be upset about that forever and boycott these movies if you want. If you do boycott this year's movies, it just confirms that James Gunn and Peter Safran are needed, that we need some kind of reboot, a semi or a full reboot. If this year's movies fail and they're from the DCEU, the old franchise, that kind of confirms that James Gunn and what he's doing is the right decision. If no one goes to see the Flash movie, it proves that the old DCEU, the old franchise, actually doesn't have an audience. So these are the things I'm really excited about. Number one, you know, Superman is my character in fiction. So to know that James is writing a Superman movie and there's one in development and we're going to get casting updates and we're definitely going to find out this year who's directing this movie. It's all very, very exciting. Of course, I'm also a bit nervous about it. What kind of film will it be? Will the director be the right choice? Will it be an inclusive choice, which concerns me if it's just about inclusion and not the talent of the director? That could be a huge problem. I think Doctor Who is a great thing to look at in terms of the success of that revival. And the reason it's so successful is most of those people understand Doctor Who. You know, Doctor Who is basically iconography made by Doctor Who fans, and mostly, even in the classic series, it was mostly Doctor Who fans making Doctor Who. So I think it is important that talented people who love Superman make Superman. That's why Superman the movie worked, because mostly everyone on that production was a Superman fan and was a loyal purveyor of the comics and understood them too. So I think if you love something and you're also talented, the results and the execution of what you're doing have better results. So it's very exciting to know that there is a Superman film in development, but also there's a brand new Batman, or so we think, in development. Is it a movie? Will he cameo in the DC universe? We don't know. Will we see him in one of the films coming out this year? Will they put a cameo of him? I don't think so, but who knows? Anything is possible. James Gunn has pretty much stated that this year's films are nothing to do with him, and his and Peter's films will start after Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. It doesn't mean that some of the characters they're going to introduce don't get cameos this year. Of course, that's very, very unlikely, but as a YouTuber talking about DC, it's very important to ask these questions, even if I think the possibility is that it's not going to happen and I already know the answer. But we are in a brave new world with DC now, and everything is possible. And I don't want to be like those other YouTubers who dismiss stuff. That's not going to happen. This is not going to happen. You're not experts. I'm not an expert. We're just people who love entertainment, television and film, love DC, love comics, and all of that jazz. And we're just talking about what we love. We don't know any more than you do. Of course, we have our sources, and sometimes they tell us stuff. And sometimes, most of the time, that stuff isn't even true. Yes, I apologize to my sources. I mean, you've been really good. You were great with me last year. You gave me lots of great information, and I was able to relay that information to you, my viewers and subscribers. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. This is a brand new year for me. I have huge plans for this channel, and it's a very exciting year to be a DC fan. So let's look at this year's movies. I nearly said next year. I got too used to it. It's 2023. This is the year of where we actually find out what's going on with this brand new DC universe. See these brand new 4 movies, but it's not just about that, because it's the final season of The Flash starring Grant Gustin this year. That's exciting. That's going to be a celebration of Arrowverse, and I think this is how they close that whole universe down as well. So it's going to be very momentous and exciting, and I think Grant Gustin has been the best live-action Flash, and that's what I'm going to say about that. There is no debate for me, considering what he's achieved within the show. Even when the show's been bad, Grant has been great, and he's been waving the flag for the Flash for nearly 9 seasons. What a success story that's been. So let's look at Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I think we all pretty much know a lot about this movie. There's been so many leaks, and if you're interested in leaks, then you'll know what's going to happen in this movie. I don't think, I think it's going to be a fun movie. It examines Shazam deeper as a character and kind of helps him forge a place on Earth with the Shazam family. So it's a typical kind of sequel, if you like. We saw his beginnings in the first movie, but now he's going to find it very difficult taking on, his responsibility of being, the leader of the Shazam family. And, he's got a big threat coming to him in these goddesses as well. And we've got Rachel Ziegler in this movie as well. So that's exciting. We've got, Dame Helen Mirren, Lucy Liu. So I think what we're going to get from this film is just fun, excitement, a few tears, a bit of a big moment at the end of the movie as well. And I think it may even have a couple of post-credit scenes. That is the rumour. Clearly, post-credit scenes don't really matter anymore if we're changing this universe, but they may have some kind of bearing on the remaining 3 movies. There may be a Blue Beetle post-credit scene. How do we know? So I think we're going to enjoy Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I think it's going to be a superior movie to Black Adam. And whatever you think of Zachary Levi and what he says publicly, he's a very good actor. I think if you love DC and you love these type of movies, I think you're going to enjoy this movie. So then we get really to one of the main releases of the year in June, unless it's put back yet again, but I don't think so, and that's basically Andy Muschietti's The Flash movie. This is a movie that's been touted and spoke about, and we've had so many leaks about, and we've had so many discussions about. The Flash movie was supposed to be the film that changed everything in the DCEU. Of course, last time I heard, this movie was still unlocked. Surely this movie still can't be unlocked. Will it stay unlocked to the very last moment? Will this film have any bearing to James Gunn's and Peter Safran's brand new DC universe? Considering this was going to be the key to the brand new DCEU timeline, there's a big chance that this film could open up the multiverse for what James Gunn and Peter Safran are about to do, or it just could be a movie that doesn't really matter anymore in the context of the future franchise and the DC universe. But I still think it's worth going to see this film. Of course, I've seen a test screening, a very rough cut of this film. I did like what I saw, and many test audiences also agreed with me. This was a really good film, and Andy Muschietti had seemed, because it's very difficult to make your mind up about what's a good and a bad movie via a test screening. It's about moments. It's about looking at that moment. Did I like it? Did I like that? Did I like the actors' attitudes on that take or that take? It's stuff like that, really. It's not a film. What you're going to see is a rough cut. So I would definitely recommend, from what I saw of it, to go and see the Flash movie. It's very, very entertaining. Ezra Miller is literally in every scene, and whatever we think of Ezra in reality, and I don't know him in reality, so I'm not going to pass judgment, and I don't know if all the stuff that's come out about him is even true or not. It's absolutely frightening if anything of what he's accused of is true, but in terms of an artist and an actor, he is fabulous from what I saw in the Flash movie. And I mean, you've got Keaton's Batman, you've got a Supergirl in there, kind of a Supergirl in there. Will Sasha Calle play Supergirl again after this movie, or will she be replaced by a more comic book accurate Supergirl? Of course, there are different versions of Supergirl in the comics, and there's kind of, you know, you can kind of, I think there is a version like this who looks like Sash, so she could stay in as some kind of multiversal Supergirl. Again, these are things we just don't know. But I genuinely believe that Gunn and Safran will come out in the next few weeks and clarify the entire situation. What do these movies mean with DC Universe? Are they connected or not? We're going to find out very, very shortly because these movies are coming out soon. It may not sound like soon, but Shazam! Fury of the Gods in March. The Flash movie we just discussed, you know, is out in June. That's not as far away as you think. So personally, I'm hyped for Shazam! Fury of the Gods and the Flash movie, whether they're connected to the future or not. People made an effort to make these films. And as someone who likes to create and express himself as well, I'm going to do my thing and go and support what these people did. They worked really hard. I love DC. I'm looking forward to seeing these movies. And, you know, we get to see Michael Keaton's Batman, we get to see Michael Shannon's General Zod, we get to see Faora again, although these are Flashpoint versions of these characters. We're going to see Supergirl having to fight them instead of Cavill's Superman. We just don't know if Henry Cavill's cameo is going to be in this film. From what I've been told, it's a very, very small cameo, and I think he's Clark rather than Superman. So I think they'll probably just shove it in there anyway because there's no reason to really not put it in there. We know he's not going to be involved anymore. I mean, it would be rather toxic to get it to happen and for it not to be put in. But it will be very interesting. And again, as I say, it's going to be very interesting what the Flash movie means for the future because it could mean nothing and it could mean everything. So very, very interesting. So then we go to Blue Beetle, which is a movie we know nothing about. You know, we haven't seen any footage of this film. We don't know what it's going to be like. We've seen nearly zero footage of the Flash movie as well. At least we've had a couple of kind of trailer thingies for Shazam! Fury of the Gods. But Blue Beetle, unless you've watched him in animation or read him in the comics, you're not going to know anything about him. He's a young boy, he's a Latino, he's got a Latino family, obviously. He comes into, you know, contact with this scarab, which is an alien thing. It attaches itself to his back or whatever, and he becomes a superhero. So it has a lot of potential to please people. I'm just not sure what kind of condition this movie is going to be in. If it can attract the general audience, it's going to be interesting. What will the Xolo effect mean for the movie? Xolo Maradona from Cobra Kai is in this movie. He stars in this movie alongside big names like Susan Sarandon. He will attract certain people to this movie, but they need to put out some, you know, they put out some posters, but they need to be in the marketing saying, you know, blah, blah, blah from Cobra Kai. They need to be telling people the star of Cobra Kai is in this movie because no one's heard of Blue Beetle before. And are they going to be attracted to this character and this film? So very excited to go and see that one. And then finally this year, we get to see Jason Momoa in James Wan's Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. James Wan is one of my favorite directors at this moment in time. It's not just that he can direct beautiful visuals. He knows how to, enlist emotions from you. We've seen it in his horror content. He's very good at scaring you, but he's very good at getting emotions from you. And so that's one of my most anticipated DC movies of this year. Nearly said next year again. I've really got to accept the fact it is now 2023. So I think these are going to be all interesting movies. And, should we try and guesstimate some box office for this year's DC movies? I think Shazam! Fury of the Gods will be more successful than Black Adam. I never get these box office predictions right. As a DC fan, you go a bit too high. I'm going to go a bit too high with Shazam! Fury of the Gods, and I'm going to say that this film will just make over 500 million. If it's lucky, 600 million. Now, that's the kind of numbers I was looking at, really, for Black Adam, and because that is really the lower core of box office these days for comic book movies, I didn't think it would go higher, and I said I'd be happy if it did, but it didn't. So I think Shazam! Fury of the Gods could be from around 500 million to 600 million if it's lucky, or it could just equal what Black Adam did. I just feel there's a little bit more interest in this. People love the first movie. Families and kids flocked to see this movie. It made money, but it didn't make a lot of money. The sequel could make a little bit more money. Let's see if audiences are going to be interested in seeing this film. At the moment, I can't see which way we're going to swing here. And then you've got the Flash movie, which is a very, very interesting movie in terms of the general audience. Again, we've seen one little clip, very quick DC fandom clip. We don't know enough. Basically, we know loads about this movie, but the general audience know nothing. And as I've said before, they are the most important thing in making a movie successful. So the Flash movie needs a trailer, and needs a trailer soon. Now, the rumor is that it's going to be part of this year's Super Bowl promotions and marketing. Now, that would be huge for the Flash movie to be seen at the 2023 Super Bowl. I can't remember what date the Super Bowl is. Is it this month or next month? If so, that's important. They need a trailer, and they need multiple trailers and marketing and posters and TV spots for the Flash movie as soon as possible, because this does have huge box office potential, despite it maybe not being connected to the Gunn and Safran future plans. I think that if it was to be announced, this has a huge connection with the future. All of a sudden, the interest would bump up. But put out some really good trailers. I think people are going to be excited for this movie. I mean, it's got great imagery, it's got great action, the characterizations are great, and as I say, you get to see Supergirl fighting General Zod, Faora. They literally play some of the movie within Man of Steel, a bit like they did with Back to the Future 2 when they were having Marty tread over the first Back to the Future movie. This film has loads and loads to be excited about, and potentially this film could do really well. How much do I think this film is going to make? This film, look, this film could be Black Adam level money, or it could even gross around $800 to $1 billion. Again, the DCEU has always been very, very unpredictable in terms of box office. Because it's New Year's Day and because I'm feeling positive, I'm going to predict a really good success and a successful campaign for this film. Because whatever you blame the failure of Black Adam on, you can't blame the marketing. WB had a huge marketing campaign for Black Adam. The Rock was everywhere. He was hyping us all up. The Rock and the marketing campaign from WB Discovery did everything that you would need to do to really elevate a film, any film. And it still didn't work. Maybe it did work. Maybe even less people would have come to see it if, the marketing campaign wasn't as good. So if WB Discovery's marketing campaigns are like the one for Black Adam, then I think the Flash movie has a huge chance, as has Shazam! Fury of the Gods. So what I'm going to say about the Flash movie is it has everything. It's a multiversal movie. You're going to see, the original Wonder Woman, aka Linda Carter, Christopher Reeve, they're going to use CG. You're going to see all these exciting elements, Michael Keaton's Batman, and other elements from DC. You can see so many things that I haven't seen in the film that you don't know about. So this is a huge film. And if they market this properly and actually prove to the general audience that this is kind of, in a lot of ways, nostalgia bait, with some of the things we're going to see in this movie and making everything in DC live action canon, I think the nostalgia bait could really attract the general audience. And I think this film could definitely at least make around 800 million to $1 billion if it's marketed well, because it's certainly a well-made film. It's an exciting film, and everyone who's seen it has actually enjoyed it thus far. So big potential, but again, this is a very inconsistent franchise. We could be getting 1 billion rave reviews, or the reviews could be shit, and it could get Black Adam money. Again, we simply don't know. So in terms of Blue Beetle is going to be a very difficult movie to gauge in terms of, because people have kind of like compared it to Iron Man in 2008 and the success it had. Basically, no one had heard of Iron Man really in 2008. The general audience hadn't of, but everyone flocked to see a movie starring Robert Downey Jr. And it's a really good movie. The way, they adapted the character was great. But Robert Downey Jr. was so important. And, I don't think Susan Sarandon's really going to attract many general audiences to go and see it. But I do feel that Xolo, being in Cobra Kai, may attract some attention. Now, look, movie stars, apart from Tom Cruise, don't attract people to the movie theatre anymore. So it's going to be a very interesting film. We could be looking at a Shazam box office here. I would love this film to make $1 billion and for it to shock the world, and maybe it will. But I just can't see anything but a very, very low box office for this film. But again, as I've said earlier, DCEU, very unpredictable. This film could be hugely successful. It could be the greatest superhero comic book movie adaptation ever made. I simply don't know. Now, finally, let's talk about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So if you judge this film on the first Aquaman, this film's probably going to look sensational when it's all finished and the VFX is done. It's going to look amazing, stunning. I can tell you the story's brilliant, the performances is brilliant. It's brilliant, it's well directed, and all of that. There's lots of great moments. It's very emotional. It's great. This is really a road movie. I might as well just put it out there for you. This is a road movie between Orm and Arthur, aka Aquaman. This is their film. This is their story. So like in the first film, that really you had a road movie with Amber Heard's Mera and Jason Momoa's Aquaman, aka Arthur Curry, you get a similar thing, but this time you get it with Orm and you get it with Aquaman. And there's a lot of emotions. They pour a lot of emotions from that. There's a lot of things unsaid between two of these characters. So it really, really works in that facet. And Amber Heard doesn't really have a big role in this movie, but she is a shadow over the success of this movie. So I'm very excited for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and I think you're all going to dig it. Don't boycott it. Because at the end of the day, Amber Heard stays a millionairess, whether you go and see it or not. She's already done what she's done. At the end of the day, you're probably doing shit to people in your real life. Who are you to moralise Amber Heard or boycott a movie for it? But if you don't want to go and see a movie, don't go and see it. Personally, I wouldn't rob myself of a DC movie just because Amber's in it. Look, this is as far as my relationship to Amber Heard goes. I like her as Mera. I don't really need to worry about what she does in real life. Listen, if I boycotted every movie because I had moral outrage about someone from Hollywood, I wouldn't watch anyone. Seen the test screening of this movie, unfinished VFX, but I was very, very happy, and I'm very excited for all of us DC fans to go and watch it together, and for me to react to that movie. I'm looking forward to at least be going to the cinema 4 times this year to watch these 4 DC movies. As I say, I'm really hyped. I've been very open, honest, and as consistent as I can about my upset on the way Henry Cavill was treated, and a few years ago Zack Snyder was treated. But I don't want to sit in the past and say, well, that's DC, that's going to be rubbish. I believe James Gunn is talented. I believe James Gunn can present a DC universe where families and children, DC fans, hardcore and softcore, and the general audience can go and enjoy. He has a great knowledge. There's no question about this. He has got a great knowledge of the comics. He loves the comics. He understands the comics. and he can basically adapt them very, very well. Now, you'll look at his Suicide Squad and Peacemaker and say, well, look at Vigilante. He wasn't a very faithful adaptation. No, but I tell you what, he was a fantastic adaptation, and he worked for the screen. There's no question about that. And I'd rather get to know the Vigilante from Peacemaker than the one in the comic book. So, look, I have different opinions about James Gunn. Again, I could be morally outraged about his, historical tweets. But again, I'm not going to do the moral outrage about people in Hollywood, because people in Hollywood, a lot of them, not all of them, do really bad things, right? And if none of them were working, then there'll be no one working in the industry. Look, it's a bad world, everyone. All companies are corrupt. Most people do shitty things in their lives to people. I'm sorry about that, but these are the realities of life, and I'm not going to rob myself. I wear a lot of Primark clothes. I know that Primark uses, very, very poor people and pays them very little money in terrible conditions, allegedly, of course, to make the clothes that I'm wearing. I mean, this isn't Primark. I ordered this from Amazon. I don't know what this fucking is, to be honest, but I fucking like the design on these shirts. But my trousers and shoes are definitely Primark, or probably Tesco's. Don't tell anyone. But so I know that people would, probably not paid a lot of money and treated in a bad way to make these clothes. But the reality is, I need to wear fucking clothes. You wouldn't like to see me naked on YouTube, right? And it's the same with the entertainment industry. I understand their hypocrisy. I understand that they're talking down to their customers, putting down straight white males all the time in their products, in their content, on social media. I understand all of that. But they're also very, very talented people when they get it right. I believe these 4 DC movies are worth viewing. And I'm very excited about viewing them. And I do believe they will have some connection with the future. So with these 4 movies and James Gunn developing a brand new universe of sorts, and, a universe we're going to get lots of information on this year, I couldn't be more excited for 2023 with DC. I think it's going to be a much better year than we've had in the past few years. I think despite the way some people have been treated in the past, I think James Gunn does know what he's doing, and he's going to present us with something new. And I think we've got a very exciting 2023 in the context of DC. And I'm going to be here reacting to every piece of news. I'm going to review all 4 DC movies being released. I'm very excited to bring you that content, but also I'll be reviewing different movies outside of the DC universe. I'll be talking more Doctor Who. I'm a huge Doctor Who fan, so I'll be bringing you more Doctor Who content than I have ever before. I'm busy writing lots of Doctor Who fan fiction. I'm really feeling the vibe. I want to talk lots of Doctor Who, and I want to talk about stuff outside of the DC universe as well as stuff inside of the DC universe. So I'm very excited to be bringing you all of this in the calendar year of 2023. This has been New Year's Day's edition of the DC Universe Daily with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Yes, still in 2023, I'm going to be the greatest lover, ladies, you've ever had. So please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the second video of this year here on Movies TV Man. Until we see each other again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.